this is amazing. Hello, family. I'm Missy L Fall. I feel like that you won't be able to hear me, but I don't want this thing down my throat, so I'm going to just kind of leave it right there. So if you can't hear me, just let me know. So, I am very, very funny. Very grateful to be here. I'm grateful to be here clean. I do want to have a little bit of a moment of silence. There's some people from our area that we lost, and it wasn't due to the disease of addiction. And there was one guy that I think about a lot, and his story, I thought his story was amazing. But Jack S. from Hamilton, Ohio, actually from Fairfield, he had a stroke a couple of days before his 35th year. And on that 35th year, he was in a coma. He had a brain bleed. Somebody came to my husband and I's house, got a medallion, a 35-year medallion, took it, and they placed it in his hand, and 2 hours later he passed away. So I really wanted to share that. Yeah, so, recovery means so much to a lot of us. Recovery is our heartbeat. Recovery is how we get through life clean. This is how we live. And that guy, that little journey that he decided to take, that was an inspiration to me. So I'm going to cry, and I'm nervous.
Love you.
Love you. All right, so my journey started many, many years ago. I'm from a small town in Carlisle, Ohio. Cornfields everywhere. We had 2 flying saucers, and I kid you not, 2 flying saucers in our town. People lived in them, for real. I wasn't on drugs when I saw them. So they actually did live in them. We are known for that. We are known for the town with flying saucer. So that's our little spiel. That's how we got on the map as our little city. Well, actually just became a city probably maybe a couple years ago. In this small town, let me back up a little bit. Before we moved to this small town, I lived in Middletown, Ohio. We called it Middletucky because there's a Hamiltucky, there's a Middletucky, and then there's Kentucky. So we have that. But in this town of Middletown, there's something that happened to me that was very, very traumatic. And I was probably about 5 years old. And here I go. So a man placed his hands on me, and I'm 5 years old. And he's a 35-year-old man. So that was the journey that started with me not feeling a part of, not feeling like I am a normal person, because why did that happen to me? I'm 5 years old. I don't understand why that happened to me. So my dad was an alcoholic. I couldn't turn to my family. My mom was doing what she could to try to survive that, basically. So I'm 7 years old, and we moved to Carlisle. And it wasn't very long after that, the neighbor boy, who was about 5 years older, and I don't understand why, I have never tried to understand, also put his hands on me. So I'm 7. So those are the two things that really got to me when I was young. The 2 things that taught me I have to keep a secret because there's something wrong with me. There's something wrong with why that happened to me. Okay? So fasting forward a little bit, I'm going into high school and everything. I start dabbling in drugs a little bit. I have an older brother. He's never home because he's trying to deal with dad's alcoholism. Mom, I have to share this because some of you aren't going to know this, but those of you that are older, the telephones with the cords that were like 20 feet long, some of them were 30. My mom would walk all over the house with that stupid phone and that cord, and she'd find us outside. She'd have the phone with the cord all the way out to the front yard before cell phones came around. So everything that we did, she was on the phone dealing with her own codependency stuff, but she was also chasing us around the house with this phone. So that's my memory of my mom when I'm younger, is her, the phone, the cord. I never saw her off of that phone. So she dealt with that in her way. My dad, never around. Man, I'm telling you, there's just going to be some stuff that comes out, and I'm kind of feeling like I got to apologize in advance because I'm about to get really raw, okay? So I started dabbling a little bit, started dabbling in drugs a little bit, trying to find ways to escape, trying to find ways to get out of not having to deal with, there's something wrong with me, my dad's never around, mom's attached to the phone, my brother disappeared, what do I do from here? I started hanging around a crowd. I was a very, very good ball player, very, very good all-star ball player. But I started hanging around a crowd of people that were all hanging around with the ball players. And the first time I ever got drunk, man, it's funny when you get up here from this podium, just things want to come out. But the first time I ever got drunk, I got raped. So my very early age, there's a lot of trauma that's happened to me. So moving forward, I drank a lot. I used a lot. Everybody knows how to do that. There's a story I got to tell, okay? I'm going to tell this because I want to move on to the recovery, because there's so much recovery that I have to share. Recovery has blessed me so much in my life. But I'm 17 years old, and I'm very rebellious. It talks about how we're rebellious in nature. The basic text talks about we're rebellious in nature. I'm being told that you can't do this, you can't do that. Well, my mom is never around because she's on the phone. My dad is never around because he's an alcoholic. So I decide one day, this is so ridiculous. So I decide one day, I had an all-star game. I got my boyfriend's horse. I got drunk, got on the horse, rode it through the ball diamond of the ball field that I was supposed to be playing in the all-star tournament, and I got benched for the rest of the season after that. Because, I rode through a ball diamond on a horse, so. So there's that. Honestly, there's a lot of things that are swirling around in my head with this right now. And, I'm trying not to, I'm finding it very, very painful to talk about what it was like, to talk about how I got here. Because, like I said, we all know how to use. We all know what it's like out on the streets. We all know what it's like to go, the ways and means to get more. We all know what it's like. We all know what it's like to not give a shit about our kids, not to give a crap about our wives, our husbands. We know what that's like. I got into a marriage with a guy. That was really popular in our area. He's a popular football player. And I'm going to share this because this is part of my story, but I'm going to share it now. There was a time that me and my husband split up, and he thought I was screwing all the football players. Well, my first husband happened to be a football player. So there's that. So he was a football player, but he was really respected, okay? We got together, and he was very, very abusive. He was very, very, very just verbally tore me down. I was a piece of shit. I was nobody. Just absolutely turned me into a stump of a person. It got to a point where I was 4 months pregnant, and we got into a fight. He went out, got drunk, came back. I had called the law on him, I don't know how many times, but he got drunk and he came back and he had a sawed-off shotgun, okay? And he was sitting on the couch and he kept telling me, close your eyes because you don't know if I load this gun or not. And he kept pulling the trigger. So now that I'm thinking about that and I'm reflecting on it, I'm like, there's so much trauma that happened. Like, I never gave myself a break. I never gave myself a break when I got into recovery because I felt like I deserved all this. I stayed in that relationship, unfortunately, for a very long time, and it took me 6.5 years to get out of it. And through that time, there was a lot of abuse. There was a lot of just very, very difficult feelings to navigate to get through it. So I did get through that. I got out of that relationship. And when I got out of that relationship, I decided I'm not going to ever let another man do that to me again. But see, I was not an addict. That I didn't believe I was an addict at that point. I'm just dabbling here and there, and I'm doing things to try to, escape, but I didn't feel like I was an addict. So I get out of the relationship, and I have 2 young kids, and I don't know what to do. I'm 20-something years old. I don't know what to do. We finally are able to get Section 8 and we get our own place, and I'm trying to raise these kids. But he's coming around and he's influencing them, and he's brainwashing them to make them believe that I'm the one trying to destroy him. So my kids were very, very messed up at a young age. I don't know. That's just been a journey, but I'm going to fast forward because I don't want to stay stuck there. I want to tell y'all right now, I didn't know if we were going to make it here. Marty and I, he almost passed away. He had blood clots in his lung, blood clots in his legs. We've had a lot of things go on in the last couple of years, and I was supposed to share 2 years ago, but about 2.5 months ago, he's sitting on the couch, and I'm looking at him, and he's turning pale, and his eyes are bugging out. And he's about to pass away. And I'm calling 911, and I said, "Are you okay?" "Yeah, I'm okay. I'm okay. Don't worry about it. I'm okay." That's what we do. We tell everybody we're okay. And we're not okay. He was in ICU for 6 days. I am absolutely honored to be standing up here right now, but I'm telling you, I didn't think I was going to make it to this podium. So if I'm all over the place, please just bear with me right now. But I would like for you all to at least keep us in your prayers and keep him in your prayers, because I do worry about him a lot. Yeah, I get to say that up here. So, I got into some drugs. I got in prescription pain pills. Was basically my drug of choice. Was what I got into. I had a sciatica problem from the doctor, from receiving an epidural shot from the doctor from having to give birth, and 4 or 5 years later, I started having a lot of pain issues. Well, the doctor put me on a pain medication that was not considered a narcotic. And I don't think I have to say what it is. But it was not considered a narcotic. And I'm like, okay, not considered a narcotic, let's have it. So put me on the prescription, and before I knew it, I had no idea what withdrawals were. Did not know what a withdrawal was. And they stopped the prescription, and I'm outside having these crazy feelings of, I gotta have it, I gotta have it, I gotta have it, and didn't know where to turn, what to do, or what was happening. So I need some water. So the next thing that I know, I'm sitting outside, and I'm calling up the doctor, and I'm like, what's going on? They said, oh, are you in pain? Well, yeah, I'm in pain. I'm in withdrawal. You guys stopped the medication just like that. I'm in freaking withdrawal. Well, come in and we'll check your pain level and see how you're doing. Okay. So I go in. You got a little bit of back pain? Here's another prescription. So I was on another prescription. Kept going and kept going and kept going. Well, that prescription was making me feel good. It was taking me outside of myself. It was helping me to feel like I didn't have to deal with not feeling good enough, not feeling like there was any good in me. So I got addicted to that pain medication, had no idea what it was. So I go to the doctor and I tell him, you know, when I stop taking this pain medication, this is what happens, this is what I'm feeling. And he said, okay, well, we just started a new trial on a new drug called OxyContin. Why don't you try that? And I, you know, it just, it surprised me. I'm like, okay. I honest to God, thought he was talking about zit medication. Because Oxy, what was that? I can't think of the Medicaid or the thing you put on your face that was Oxy. OxyClear. Yes, OxyClear. And I'm like, why the hell are you giving me that for pain? I'm telling you, I was confused. And I took it to the pharmacy. And when I took it to the pharmacist, he said, why are you on this medication, ma'am? I said, the doctor gave it to me. He said, do you know they only give that to cancer patients? I'm like, okay, well, give it to me. Give me some more then. I mean, that's definitely what I want. So I got started on that. And, you know, when I got started on that, it just kept going and kept going and kept going. And it got to the point where I started running into people on the streets to get more because I couldn't get any more prescriptions. And then when I ran into my second husband, we come up with a plan to forge prescriptions. So, and I'm going to share this because this is the insanity of the disease of addiction right here. So I go to the dentist and I tell him, I have pain here. Can you please just pull this tooth? Like, seriously, I got pain, pull my tooth. I mean, what normal person is going to say that? So, please pull my teeth. I've got pain. Okay, let me do that. And he's an old dentist, so he's going along with whatever I'm asking him to do. So he pulls my teeth, and, well, first he took x-rays. The first visit was x-rays. He went down in the basement to look at the x-rays. I came back to where he was going down the steps because that confused me. I'm like, why is that guy going downstairs for x-rays? Okay, never mind. Don't let me squirrel on that. Let me go over here and see what's on this table. And there was a prescription pad. And I honestly researched how to write the DEA number. I researched his number. I researched how to sign his name on a prescription pad. And I got away with 4 prescriptions. And the very last one I did not get away with. And this is the insanity of this disease because this was a pharmacist who was actually in my hometown and told me at one point, he said, you've got a problem. He said, I don't know why you're coming in with all these prescriptions from doctors. I said, but they're prescribed. What problem? It just so happens I'm thinking I'm going to go to this pharmacy out in another town, out in the country. Nobody's going to know me there. I'm going to get away with it. And I walk up, and who do you think it is? It's that pharmacist. And he's looking at me like, I know you. What are you doing here? And I'm thinking, shit, I'm busted. I'm in trouble. So I got caught. I got caught forging prescriptions. So that sent my journey towards probation. That sent me towards legal issues, and that connected me to a PO who saved my life. This PO, this probation officer. So I'm at a domestic violence shelter because the second husband beat the shit out of me, so I'm at a domestic violence shelter. Well, my pain medication is locked up at this domestic violence shelter, and I'm thinking, well, that's mine. Why are you locking it up? I'm going to go get it. And I broke into the office of the domestic violence shelter, and I got caught in the middle of it. And while I'm being caught in the middle of it, and I was overdosing at the same time while I'm stealing the medication and getting caught, she's telling me, I'm done with you. You got to go to the homeless shelter. So I got kicked out of a domestic violence shelter to go to a homeless shelter. I get sent to this homeless shelter, and I'm sitting over there thinking, how the hell am I ending up here? Like, I couldn't get it. Why am I ending up here? Next thing I know, here comes P.O. knocking on the door. Is there a Melissa Bryant here? I had like 5 last names, on and off. Melissa Bryant here? I don't know no Melissa Bryant. I know Missy. I don't know no Melissa. He's like, no, is there a Melissa Bryant here? I was like, look, okay, I'm done. I surrender. I'm Melissa Bryant. What do you want? He said, let's go take a ride. So we're going down Route 4 from Middletown to Hamilton, and he looks at me, and he's pointing to this outside organization. And he says, you're going to go there for spirituality, or I'm going to violate you. You can't violate me if I don't get spiritual. You can't do that. That's not legal. Well, you're going to do that, and you're going to go there, and then we're going down. He said, you're going to go treatment here. And he said, you're going to get your shit together. He said, I've had enough of it. And there's a whole lot of things I've left out because I really don't want to stay focused on that. So he was a man that actually saved my life, and his name was Ed Crozier. He was from Butler County. And sadly, I was going to contact him about a couple years ago, and I went to contact him, and I called the court, and they said, well, Ed passed away, and he actually passed away from heart issues from OxyContin. And I thought, are you kidding me right now? I was like, this man helped save my life. I was mad. But I went on. So, I tried to get my life together. I have this 1-bedroom apartment out in the country. It was wonderful. All I had to deal with was the cows in the fields and, the occasional manure smell, and I was fine with that. I didn't care. The insanity, the disease, I was great with it. And I'm out there, but I'm telling you, the insanity gets worse. My dad's still drinking. And he's got a lot of heart problems. He's supposed to have major heart surgery. He had a carotid artery that was completely blocked, and he had very little time. So he was in recovery at this point, okay? And my mom couldn't find him. My grandmother had passed away. He was in charge of getting rid of all of the things in the estate. He was having issues with it because his brother and sister weren't helping, and they literally would go past the house as my dad's laying my grandmother's belongings out in the road because he has nowhere to put it, and they're just driving past, not helping. So he dealt with it the way an alcoholic would deal with it, and he found a little dive, and he went and got drunk. And I had to go look for him, and I found him with my daughter in the car. And I hadn't seen him drunk since I was a kid. And he come out of this bar, and he's supposed to have major surgery on this carotid artery, and he comes out of this bar, and he's looking at me all drunk and everything, and I'm like, who the hell are you, and what the fuck is happening here? And I said I wasn't going to say it, but I said fuck, okay? So there. But, he came out of this bar drunk, and I couldn't believe the insanity of the disease. So this kind of put me into a spin with some other things. So the internet back then, it tells you how old I am a little bit. So the internet back then was dial-up, okay? So dial-up internet, and, I'm just learning how all that works. I'm a hot mess because I find my dad in a bar. He's drunk. He's supposed to have major surgery. My daughter's seen it. She saw enough of my active addiction of what I had been doing. So I needed a meeting. So I'm calling the treatment center that I was at. Where is there a meeting? Well, why don't you get online and look? Well, I don't know how to get online and look, lady. There's this dial-up thing, and it's, making this sound, and it's not doing nothing. She said, just be patient. It'll connect. I thought, oh, good God. So it took literally 5 minutes for that to connect. So if y'all just be grateful for the internet you got now, because if you'd have been back then, you'd have been shot. That'd have been the end of it. So we finally get connected, and I find these online meetings, and I'm going to share about this because for whatever reason I feel like it needs to be shared. I get connected with addicts all over the world, and I get connected with this Canadian So the insanity of my disease took me, I allowed it to take me clean across the Canadian border for 4 years straight to see this Canadian who was in recovery, supposedly. I go see him. I do meetings in Canada, which I thought that was freaking great. But it come to a point where I'm sitting, he was a sound guy, so he helped hooked up the sound for bands. So we're sitting in a bar, and I'm like, what am I doing in a bar? I'm supposed to be in recovery. He gets up to go help somebody, and the people he's with, there's alcohol sitting on the table. So the next thing I know, I'm reaching out for that alcohol. And I'm looking around like, what am I doing? What am I doing here? Why am I in recovery? And I'm sitting here in another country with a Canadian I barely know and I met online. I got to get out of here, and I got to get my ass back to the States. So I come back to Ohio, and I got really, really, really serious with my recovery. The sad thing is, when I came back to Ohio, I went to go to a meeting, and there was none. On the schedule, there was a meeting, and I went to it, and it wasn't open. I'm struggling. There's another addict that's trying to get clean, and he's struggling. But they say it only takes two addicts to have a meeting. We sat right out there and had a meeting. But I'm telling you, that catapulted me into service work. I got into service work so fast. I got into doing the schedules. I got into keeping the meetings updated. I got into, because they say service work helps keep you clean. I'm like, well, we're going to get that straightened out, because I didn't want anybody else to have to go through what I went through with that. So I did that. Got into service work. And I'm telling you, that service work helped me keep me clean. Our policy had not been put online yet. So while I'm going through this thing where I have to have a hysterectomy, if anybody's ever had that, that is not recommended. Not recommended at all, but I had to have one. I typed our entire policy for our area up and put it online, and it kept me clean. Me doing that kept me clean, okay? Doing these little things with service work helped keep me clean. You know, I get through all of that. I ditched the Canadian. That's over with. And I start getting into recovery, you know, and I start focusing on my kids, like the insanity of not being in their lives. Like, I got to get with being with my kids. I got to get with being a productive member of society. So I started to rebuild a relationship with my kids. And, you know, the hardest thing for your kids to do, for us to hear, for me to hear, was my kids came up to me and they said, why did you leave us with our dad? Why did you do that? I didn't have an answer. I didn't have an answer. That was the hardest thing for me, to have to look them in the eye and not have an answer for that. So I just continued to work on it. You know, we kept trying to work on that relationship. I got to just fast forward, because there's so many blessings in recovery for right now. I have 3 triplet granddaughters right now, okay? As a result of this program, of me breathing this program into my children. Granted, she wasn't clean when she got pregnant, but I tell you right now, she's trying to get this program. And she's trying to breathe this program into those grandbabies. She's not completely all the way clean, but she has the desire. And the desire is the only thing, our Tradition 3 states, the only desire requirement is the desire to stop using. I was thinking about her, so something must be going on with her. Whew. You know, I'm a mom today. I'm a wife today. I am working on my master's today in social work. Starting to work on my internship at 54 years old. I never thought I'd even go back to school. There's just so many things. You know, I was trying to get a job before I went back to college. This is a really cool experience. I was trying to get a job, okay? And I was trying to get a job at Kohl's Warehouse. And I kept swearing up and down there was no theft on my record at all. And I kept telling him, there's no theft on my record. I don't have it anymore. You know, it's gone. And they kept saying, ma'am, you've got theft on your record. We can't hire you. I stole a purse from Goodwill. I mean, who does that? I stole a purse from Goodwill. Seriously. So I come to find out that the record that was supposed to have been expunged through the court where I completed treatment and they didn't keep their end of the bargain, that those charges were still on there. So I cried for like 3 weeks and I prayed on this. I asked my higher power, I said, please guide me to what I need to do here. I called BCI. If y'all don't know what BCI is, Bureau of Criminal Investigations. I called them up and I said, listen, I was not supposed to have this on my record and it's hindering my life. This is where my life has gotten me. This is where my recovery has gotten me, okay? I don't know what to do here because they're telling me I have to go back to court and pay for this. They said, ma'am, when BCI talks, they listen. You don't worry about it. You're expunged. I was like, you got to be kidding me right now. All my record was expunged, all of it. You know, it hinders us. And if you're a felon, it's hindering to try to become a productive member of society. It's very hindering. So for them to just do that, I'm like, the Bureau of Criminal Investigations is doing something on my behalf. Damn, I must be really important right now. But, you know, I had so much gratitude in that. I had so much humility and, wow, they really thought enough of me to do that. I mean, that was amazing. But I'm going to tell you, I'm going to get real honest about some things here. You know, I am in a relationship. I've let the disease of addiction take me to places where it's that fight or flight instinct. You know, we get in an argument, I'm out. You look at me wrong, I'm out. Many times we have split up, him and I have split up because I wanted my way. I wanted that control. I wanted to be the one to make all the decisions, and it has to be my way. And I found myself a few different times driving down the interstate crying, calling my sponsor. I'm leaving him. I'm not going to stick with him anymore. And that was the hardest thing I've done, and I did that 3 or 4 times clean. And I made this promise this last time when we split up. He said, I want you to make a promise. He said, no matter what happens, no matter how mad you get at me, no matter what you do, you don't leave. So I have consistently been in this relationship for the last 6 years. And trust me, I went past 5 this time, so I'd like to give myself a little credit for that. Thank you, Mark. Because that was a really, and you know, a lot of people want to look at me and look at us like we're the recovery couple. But we have our issues. We have our issues. He's looking at me. I don't know. Recovery's just been so beautiful for me. I really don't know what else I really need to share. There was some things that I got. What do I do for a job? You want people to know that? I work in the field, okay? I am a chemical dependency counselor. He obviously feels like I should share that. I am working on my master's, which I already said I was doing. Working on my internship. See, this is part of getting older right here. You got to constantly repeat what you do. So, it is what it is. You know, and that's another good point, too. When we get in recovery and we start to have health issues, that's a hard thing to deal with. Because not wanting to go to the first thing of pain medication, this is hurting, that's hurting, I can't stand this, I know what's going to take care of it. That insanity of that wanting that pain medication, that pain medication took me at a point in my recovery at 10 years clean. I had one leg over the fence and I was going to tell NA to fuck off. I had had enough. I called my sponsor up. I said, I've already got the ways and means planned out. I'm not doing this anymore. I don't have anything to offer. And I don't know why I'm staying clean for the mess that's going on in my life. Why am I even here? And the phone got real quiet, and I'm going to kind of break her anonymity a little bit. It's my sponsee sister now, but she was my sponsor. So if y'all know Robin M., she's very blunt, from Kentucky. And she got real quiet on the phone, and she said, Missy, she said, don't you, and everybody knows now, I'm just repeating what she said, okay? She said, everybody knows that you're fucking worth it. Why don't you believe that you're fucking worth it? All right, Robin, I'm fucking worth it. Does that make you happy? She said, don't you dare go out and use. Don't do it. I said, okay. I said, just because that you believe in me and I don't believe in myself right now, I'm going to listen, and I'm not going to go back out. 10 years clean. So my clean date is 12/12/01. I made it through that. I didn't use. Thank you. I look at it like this. I'm fortunate for this clean date because it's 12 steps, 12 traditions, and it starts with the first step. And I'm never going to let go of that clean date because that just means so much to me. There's so much that I've been through clean to let that go. My dad passed away back in 2009. He died suddenly. But my first granddaughter was born about 14 hours before, and he got to hear her cry on the phone. And 14 hours later, he passed. So it was one of those things that my higher power gave, and then my higher power took away. And I was kind of resentful about that. But, recovery gave me the gift of getting there to be there to hold my brother's hand who had colon cancer. And I watched him get down to 65 pounds. And just watch him breathe, and you wait for the end of that. And while I'm going through that, we got to do the most amazing thing for him. He loved to play guitar, and I'm telling you, Leonard Skinner was his band. It was his band, and my sister, I ended up with this sister, and this is how this happened. I told you I'd be all over the place. My mom had her tubes tied, cut, and burned after I was born. Now, all y'all that's had your tubes tied, cut, and burned, she grew a whole new fallopian tube and got pregnant with my sister. I'm serious. Has a heart attack. So that was a whole different thing I had to deal with. So we're sitting there. We're sitting there and we're watching our brother breathe, and he's taking, his breathing's getting shallower and shallower and shallower. And I'm holding his hand. And my sister said, start playing the songs that he likes. And I'm like, yeah, this classical bullshit in here is not getting it for him. We got to have something for him to jam to while he's passing over. So we put Leonard Skinner on. We put Leonard Skinner on. We put Tuesday's Gone. And we got a video of this. And he's sitting there and he's tapping his foot to the beat. And he's going like this to the beat, like literally minutes before he passes away. And recovery gave that to me. It gave me that. It gave me the ability to sit there and hold his hand no matter how I felt. Because I was angry. It gave me that gift to be able to sit there with him. My sponsees will tell you, I was pissed. I wasn't happy. I wasn't a very nice person for a while. But I had to go back and make amends after that. And now my mom has lung cancer. She has stage 4 lung cancer. And this is a hard situation I'm having to deal with clean, but I'm doing it. My mom and my sister have a very codependent relationship. And there's a reason I'm sharing this, obviously. I tried. She's in hospice at home, and I tried for months to go over and see her. But there was a block. My sister put a block to that with some drama. and I chose to step away. My mom called me up and she said, "You haven't been over for like 3 months." I said, "Mom, you guys aren't allowing us to come over. We've tried to come and see you." "Well, I'd really like to see you," so we make plans to go see her. We made plans for that Saturday, which was a spiritual retreat in, where was that? I can't remember. Yeah, spiritual retreat, and we went there, and we were waiting for her to call us to let us know. I called her up at like 5 o'clock later in the afternoon, and she said, "You know what?" She said, "I've had enough visitors." She said, "I'll call you and let you know when I'm ready for you." And I haven't heard from her since. So, we deal with these things, right? I'm waiting for the attorneys to call me and tell me she's passed, because I won't know any other way. But we don't use no matter what. We do not use no matter what. There's things that I would like to act out on, and there's just things in life I would love to be able to put some defects of character to and tell my husband, "Get your bail money ready because I'm about to go to jail for some things." But that's not what recovery's taught me today. I haven't been to jail. And I do credit myself for that, yet. There's always a yet behind everything. But I have to put her in my higher power's hands. So if I leave you guys with anything, no matter what you do in life, no matter what you go through, no matter when it feels like that you cannot do it another day clean, just remember your story is going to help somebody else. What you're going through right now is going to help save somebody else's life. So don't ever discredit your story. Don't ever discredit that what you have to offer is not good enough to help somebody else. And I hope to God I helped somebody in here clean. And thank you all for this opportunity. I love you all.